Okay, now we have an application of um, linear inequalities. Adriana has 12 available study hours for algebra and biology. Let X represent the number of hours Adriana spends studying algebra. Let Y represent the number of hours Adriana spends studying biology. Set up an inequality for part A. Set up an inequality that indicates that the number of hours spent studying algebra cannot be negative, which is absolutely true. So for that, we're going to say that X is greater than or equal to 0. That means it's not negative. Same thing with biology. You cannot study biology a negative amount of time. So we would say that Y has to also be greater than or equal to 0. And then part C, we want to set up an inequality that indicates that the combined number of hours spent studying for these two classes is at most 12 hours. So we would say that X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 12. Nothing more than 12. And so that means that Y is less than or equal to negative X plus 12. So we have three lines here, X greater than or equal to 0, Y greater than or equal to 0, and Y less than or equal to negative X plus 12. So if we look at X greater than or equal to 0, the border for that inequality is going to be the Y-axis because that's where X equals 0. We're going to include that line because we're saying you don't have to study for algebra. And so where would you shade? Well, you would shade to the right of that line because you're saying you want to study at 0 or more. So yeah, to the right of that line is where you would shade. And then you've got the x-axis for your y greater than or equal to 0 because that is the graph of y equals 0. And so since you want the hours studying biology to be greater than or equal to 0, that's going to be above the line that you're going to shade there. And then y less than or equal to negative x plus 12, you can graph that. Your y-intercept is 12, and then the slope is negative 1, so it looks like that. And you would shade to the left of that green line because if you check the point 0, 0 in that inequality, you would have 0 is less than or equal to 12, which is true. So you would be shading that side of that line. And so the area you're shading is that area right there. And that is just representing all the possible ways that you could study for algebra and biology if you were going to study both of those things only 12 hours at the most. So all the points in that shaded region represent the number of hours you could study biology paired up with the number of hours you could then study algebra.